Hello and welcome. This is an adapted and simplified version of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It has been rewritten in simple English, using clear and easy words, perfect for learners of the English language. Listening to books like this is a great way to improve your English. You'll hear natural phrases, basic grammar, and emotional storytelling, all while enjoying a classic novel. Let's begin. Letter 1. I am writing to you, dear sister, from St. Petersburg, in a cold and icy land. My heart feels heavy, and I miss home. It snows constantly. Ships get trapped in ice, and people smile at me, but I know no one here. I feel alone. I have always dreamed of great things, of exploring and learning. I found a friend, a man named Victor Frankenstein. He grew up in a beautiful family in Geneva, near their lovely house on a mountain. They were happy and kind. When Victor was born, his parents gave him to a friend's daughter who had lost her own child. This girl, Elizabeth, grew up with him. She was gentle, calm, and always good. Victor's parents loved him dearly, and they loved each other. His mother taught him to be honest and brave. From early on, he was eager to know more about the world. He read stories about magic and science, and he watched the stars at night, dreaming. He felt that something wonderful was waiting to be found. As he grew older, he met a kind tutor, who taught him real science. The tutor showed him experiments with electricity and chemistry. Victor was amazed. He worked hard. His mind was full of thoughts and ideas. He wanted to learn how to bring life to dead things. When he went to the university at Ingolstadt, he was excited. He met teachers and friends who praised his talent. He studied day and night. He mixed chemicals, he read old books and modern ones. He paid no attention to food or sleep. His passion consumed him entirely. One night, he discovered a way. He found a secret path, a science that could make dead matter breathe. He stayed up, his eyes shining with excitement. He found the right combination of things, lightning, electricity, gases, and he felt unstoppable. Then, on a dark night in winter, he worked until dawn in his small lab. He put together parts of dead bodies, hands, arms, legs. He watched as his creation rose. He saw the breath come into its face. He saw its eyes open. At first, he felt joy, he had done it. He had created life. But the moment he looked at the creature, he was horrified. It was ugly, tall, with yellow skin and wild black hair. Its eyes were small and sunken. Its teeth were white but large. The sight made Victor sick. His strong voice shook, and he ran out into the cold night to breathe. He wandered the streets until he calmed down. He thought to himself, I must hide what I've done. No one should know. I must leave it alone. When he went back, the creature was gone. Victor felt relief, mixed with guilt. He did not know what happened to it. Did it walk away? Did it hide? He did not ask. He could not face it. In the days that followed, he became ill. He had nightmares. He burned with fever. His mind hunted him. His friends came to care for him. One, a man named Henry Clerval, nursed him with kindness. He read sweet poems, he cooked care, he spoke of hope and nature's beauty. Slowly, Victor's body healed. But his soul remained dark. He had done something unnatural. He had crossed a line. He carried a heavy shame. He knew that if he told people, they would call him mad. Or worse. But if he stayed silent, the burden would crush him. So he decided to travel home to Geneva. He thought distance might calm him. He hoped to see Elizabeth, to feel love again. But the secret followed him, like a ghost. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that creature's face. And so, dear sister, I write to you with a trembling hand. I promise I will tell you more soon, but I need time. I need courage. My friend Victor is in trouble. I fear his ambition has created a monster. Not only in body, but in spirit. I wish I could help him. Please pray for us. Your loving brother, Robert Walton. Letter 2. To Mrs. Seville, England. Archangel, March 28. My dear sister. I am writing again, though I have no news. The weather here is cold, but the sky is clear. Soon, I hope, our ship will leave the shore. I am well, and I feel happy. I have great hopes for this journey. You ask me, do I not get lonely? The answer is yes. I long for a friend. I want someone who understands me. I want a person who can share in my dreams and thoughts. The men on the ship are kind, but they are not like me. They are rough, not used to deep thinking. They talk of money and trade. I try to speak with them, but they do not truly listen. There is no one here who can feel the same wonder as I do, about the stars, about the mysteries of the sea and the world. Sometimes I walk alone on the ice, watching the sky. I think of the people at home, but I do not regret coming here. This is my dream. Still, I wish I had a friend. Let me tell you about the men who work on the ship. They are brave and strong. The captain of the ship is me, of course, but I trust the crew. One man, the second in command, gave up his chance to be captain on another ship because he thought he did not deserve it. He told me a man better than him should lead. That shows great character. Another story is of a sailor who asked to be punished for something his friend did. He said, "We are like brothers. We share all things, even blame." These stories show that there is goodness in men. I hope I will find someone among them who becomes my true friend. But I still feel the need for someone with a soul like mine, someone with a mind full of wonder and hope. Do not think I am sad, dear sister. I am in good health and spirits. My hopes are high. I feel the wind of adventure. When we leave the land, and only ice and sky remain, I will write again. Yours always, Robert Walton. Letter 3. To Mrs. Seville, England. July 7th. My dear sister. Today I write only a short letter. I want to tell you that I am safe. Our ship is now far from land. We are moving quickly north, carried by a steady wind. The weather has been good so far. The sky is blue. The sea is quiet. There is no ice around us yet. All the sailors are doing well. No one is sick. Everyone works hard and is full of hope. Our ship is strong. I feel proud when I stand at the front of the deck, looking out. I think of you and home. But I also feel joy at where I am. I cannot describe how peaceful the sea is. There is something deep and powerful in it. At night, when the stars come out, I look up and wonder what lies ahead. The cold wind touches my face, but it feels like adventure. I know that dangers will come. Ice and storms may still wait for us. But I feel ready. I trust the men and the ship. My spirit is calm. My heart is strong. Please do not worry about me. I will be careful. I will not take foolish risks. If the way becomes too dangerous, I will turn back. But I believe we will go far. Give my love to everyone at home. I will write again soon. Your loving brother, Robert Walton. Letter 3. To Mrs. Seville, England. August 5th. My dear sister. You will smile when you read this. Something strange and wonderful has happened. About 2 weeks ago, we were surrounded by thick ice. The sea was frozen on all sides. We could not move. The wind had stopped. We were trapped in silence. The white ice stretched far in every direction. The sky above was gray. The cold was terrible. One morning, as we looked out across the ice, we saw something very strange. A low carriage, like a sled, was moving in the distance. It was pulled by dogs. But the man driving it was no ordinary man. He was very tall, and his skin looked dark and strange. He moved quickly, and then he disappeared behind the ice. We were all shocked. What kind of person could be out here, alone on the ice? The next morning, we saw another sled, broken and damaged, near our ship. On it lay a man, half dead from cold. He was not like the first man. He looked European. His body was weak, his face thin. He had almost no strength left. We brought him on board. He spoke little. His voice was low and soft. When we asked where he came from, he whispered, "Follow him. I must find him." We did not understand, but we took care of him. Now he is getting better. He eats small amounts and sleeps often. He is quiet and thoughtful. He asks about the ship and our journey. He seems educated and noble. There is pain in his eyes. He looks like someone who has suffered deeply. I feel great interest in this man. He has not yet told us his name. I spend much time by his side. He listens when I talk about my dreams, my plans, my wish to explore and discover. And when I speak, he smiles sadly. He says, "You seek knowledge and greatness, but be careful." I once had the same dream. That made me curious. I asked him to tell me more. He said he would speak when he was ready. Sister, I feel this meeting is not by chance. This man is not ordinary. Something powerful surrounds him. I think we are meant to know each other. I will write again soon. I believe he will tell me his story. And I will share it with you. Your loving brother, Robert Walton. August 13th. My dear sister. Today I have more to tell you about the strange man we rescued. He is feeling better now. His health is still weak, but he speaks more often. His voice is low and calm, and his eyes are full of sadness. But when I talk with him, I feel a strong connection, as if we have known each other before. He listens when I speak about my hopes and my love of science and discovery. I told him how I dream of doing something great, something that no one else has done. I told him I want to make my name known. He looked at me for a long time and said nothing. Later, when we were alone, he said, "You seek glory. You wish to conquer nature. I understand that. I once had the same dream. But, I ask you, do you not fear what may come from such ambition?" I said, "I believe great men must take risks." He smiled, but his face was sad. He said quietly, "You are brave, but I hope your dream will not destroy you, as mine destroyed me." I cannot describe how deeply I am moved by this man. He is not old, but pain has aged him. He speaks slowly, with thought and care. I want to know everything about him. Today, I asked him again to tell me his story. I said, "You may help me, and perhaps others, if you share what happened to you." He looked out across the sea, silent for a while. Then he said, "I will tell you. Not yet, but soon. And when I do, you will understand why I suffer." Later, in the evening, he came to me and said, "Captain Walton, you have been kind to me. You have listened and shown me trust. I think the time has come. I will begin my story tomorrow, if you wish to hear it." I said yes, with all my heart. And so, sister, I will soon write down everything he tells me. His story may be strange. It may sound like madness. But I believe him. I see truth in his face. Something terrible happened to this man, and I think it is something the world must know. Tomorrow, I will listen to the beginning of his tale. I will write to you again, and send every word. You will read it as I hear it. Your loving brother, Robert Walton. Chapter 1. My name is Victor Frankenstein. I was born in Geneva, a beautiful city in Switzerland. My family was one of the best known and most respected families in the area. My father, Alphonse Frankenstein, was a man of great wisdom, kindness, and strength. He worked hard to help people and was deeply loved by many. Before he married, my father spent several years helping a close friend. This man had once been rich and well known, but over time, he lost his money, his health, and his place in society. Sadly, this man had a daughter named Caroline. She was young, gentle, and very beautiful. When her father died, she was left alone in the world, poor and without anyone to care for her. My father felt deep sorrow when he saw her situation. He decided to take her into his home. He gave her comfort and treated her with respect. Over time, his care turned into love. He asked Caroline to be his wife, and she accepted. Even though he was much older than her, their marriage was full of happiness. They truly loved one another. After they married, I was born. I became their first child and the center of their lives. They gave me everything I needed and more. My mother often said that I was her most precious gift. She took great care in raising me, teaching me to be both smart and kind. My father also gave me his full attention. He wanted me to grow into a man who would help others, just as he had done. When I was very young, we often traveled to different places. My parents liked to explore the beauty of nature. But after some years, they decided to settle down in Geneva. They bought a large house there, near the mountains and the lake. I grew up in that home, surrounded by calm hills and clear air. My early memories are full of love and peace. I was a lucky child. When I was about 5 years old, my family traveled to Italy. During this trip, something happened that would change my life forever. We visited a poor family who lived in a small cottage. Among their children was a little girl who looked very different from the others. She had golden hair and bright blue eyes. Her name was Elizabeth Lavenza. My mother asked the family about her. They explained that Elizabeth was not their real daughter. She had been found and adopted when she was very small. Her real parents were unknown. But even among strangers, Elizabeth stood out. She was calm, gentle, and full of quiet beauty. My mother saw something special in her right away. One evening, my mother turned to me and said, "Victor, I have a gift for you. This sweet girl will come home with us. She is yours. You must love her and take care of her." From that moment on, Elizabeth became part of our family. We grew up together. We called each other cousins, and our bond was strong. Though we were raised like brother and sister, I always saw her as more than that. To me, Elizabeth was light. She was goodness. She was mine to protect and love for all my life. As the years passed, our family continued to grow. My parents adopted other children and soon we had a large household. I gained 2 younger brothers, Ernest and William. My mother was happiest when surrounded by children. She believed that kindness was the most important thing in life. She taught us to care for the poor and the sick. She showed us how to love others, not just with words but with actions. Not far from our house lived a boy named Henry Clerval. He became my best friend. Henry was full of life. He loved stories of knights and heroes. He dreamed of adventure, honor, and doing good things in the world. He always wanted to help people. His heart was big and open. I was very different from Henry. From a young age, I was serious. I liked to study and learn. I was curious about how things worked. While Henry played with swords and imagined castles, I sat under trees and read books about science and nature. I wanted to understand the stars, the storms, and the secrets of life itself. Even as a child, I asked many questions. I looked at the sky and wondered what made the planets move. I looked at flowers and wanted to know why they bloomed. I was full of deep thoughts, and my parents encouraged me, though sometimes they didn't understand my strange interests. One day, I found a very old book by a man named Cornelius Agrippa. It was about ancient science and magical powers. I was fascinated. The book spoke of ways to turn metal into gold and to control the elements. When I showed it to my father, he said, "My dear Victor, do not waste your time on such nonsense." But he didn't explain why it was nonsense. He only smiled and walked away. That small moment changed everything. I thought he just didn't understand the book. So I continued reading. I soon found more books by men named Paracelsus and Albertus Magnus. They were all old scientists who believed that humans could unlock great power, even the secret of life. I was hooked. I believed I had found my path. I thought I might one day discover something that would make me famous and great. I wanted to bring light to the world. I wanted to do something no one else had done. Now, looking back, I understand how innocent the first was. How dangerous that path truly was. But at the time, I saw only wonder, only glory. I did not yet know the terrible cost of such dreams. Chapter 2. As I grew older, my mind became more active. My love for learning grew stronger every day. I spent hours reading books and asking questions. I wanted to understand the world around me. I was not interested in games or play like other boys. Instead, I was serious, quiet, and full of deep thoughts. My favorite books were about natural philosophy, what we now call science, and the mysteries of nature. At that time, science was very different from what it is today. There were many old books that spoke of magic, strange powers, and impossible things. I didn't know the difference between true science and false science. I read everything I could find. I believed that if I studied hard, I could discover great secrets, maybe even the secret of life itself. My father saw me reading one of these old books and said, "My dear Victor, don't waste your time with this." But he said it too simply. He didn't explain why the book was wrong. He just smiled and walked away. If he had taken time to teach me the truth, I might have chosen a different path. But because he said so little, I thought he didn't understand. So I continued reading the old books with even more interest. I read works by Cornelius Agrippa, Paracelsus, and Albertus Magnus. These writers believed in the power of the human mind to control nature. They thought people could turn metal into gold, cure all sickness, and even live forever. Their ideas were wild and strange, but to me, they were full of wonder. I believed them. I thought maybe I could be the one to complete their work. One day, when I was about 13 years old, something happened that changed how I saw the world. A great storm came to our town. The wind was strong, and lightning flashed across the sky. It was both frightening and beautiful. I stood at the window and watched the storm with excitement. Then, suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck a large tree in our garden. In an instant, the tree was split in two. The trunk was broken into pieces, and the branches lay in ruins on the ground. This event amazed me. I could not believe the power of the lightning. Later, a man explained to me that it was caused by electricity. He told me about a new kind of science, modern science, that could explain what had happened. For the first time, I saw that there was more to science than the old books. There was a new way to understand nature. I felt confused but also curious. My mind was full of questions. Still, I did not let go of the old ideas. I thought, what if I can use this new power, electricity, to do something even greater? What if I can use it to discover the secret of life? During this time, I continued to grow close to my family and friends. Elizabeth, who had become like a sister to me, was always a bright light in our home. She was gentle and kind. She loved nature, poetry, and beautiful things. She made every place feel peaceful. My friend Henry Clerval was also a big part of my life. He was full of energy and dreams. He loved heroic stories and always talked about helping others. He wanted to travel the world and learn many languages. His heart was full of imagination and hope. Even though Henry and I were very different, we understood each other. He respected my deep love of science, and I admired his passion for people and adventure. We often spent long days together, walking, talking, and dreaming about the future. But while others dreamed of honor and kindness, I dreamed of discovery. I wanted to know more than anyone else. I wanted to go beyond what was known. I wanted to be the first to break the rules of nature. I didn't realize how dangerous those dreams could be. My parents were proud of me. They believed I would do great things. They continued to raise me with love and care. My mother often said, "Victor, I hope you will use your gifts to help others. Never forget to be kind." She loved Elizabeth deeply. She often looked at her and smiled, saying, "One day, you and Victor will marry. You belong to each other." At the time, I didn't think much of those words, but I liked the idea. Elizabeth was so good and gentle. I thought our lives would always stay the same, peaceful and bright. But now, as I tell this story, I know how wrong I was. Back then, my life was full of light and promise. I had a loving family, a peaceful home, and the freedom to learn. But deep inside, something was already changing. My dreams were growing too big. My questions too dangerous. I was not yet a man, but already, I was walking toward a dark path. No one warned me. No one could stop me. My heart was full of wonder, but I did not yet understand the cost. Chapter 3. When I turned 17, my parents decided it was time for me to go to university. They wanted me to continue my education and study with great teachers. The university was in a town called Ingolstadt, in Germany. My father said it was important for me to see the world beyond Geneva and to meet people from other places. Before I left, something very sad happened. My mother became ill. At first, it seemed like a simple cold. But soon, she grew weaker. Her face was pale, and her body tired. The doctor told us it was scarlet fever. Elizabeth had caught it first, and my mother cared for her without fear. She stayed close to Elizabeth's bed, holding her hand, giving her food, and whispering gentle words. Elizabeth got better, but my mother became sick. We all hoped she would recover. But my mother seemed to know that she would not live. One day, she called me and Elizabeth to her side. She held our hands and said, "My children, I am happy that Elizabeth is well. She has always been like a daughter to me. And, Victor, I hope you will one day marry her. You are both so dear to me. Take care of each other." I could not hold back my tears. I loved my mother very much. She had always been so gentle, so kind. Soon after, she died, and we all mourned her loss. Our house felt empty without her. Elizabeth was heartbroken. She blamed herself, even though we all told her it wasn't her fault. My father was silent and sad, and I did my best to be strong. But my heart was heavy. A few weeks later, I left for Ingolstadt. I felt sorrow at leaving my family, but also a sense of excitement. I was going to begin a new chapter of life. I was eager to learn more, to study science, and to follow my dreams. My father traveled with me part of the way, then said goodbye. He reminded me to stay healthy and to write often. I promised I would. When I arrived at the university, I felt strange. Everything was new people, new streets, new voices. I was shy at first. I missed home. But I quickly found comfort in my studies. The university was filled with bright minds. The professors were serious and wise. I met two men who would greatly influence my thinking. The first was Monsieur Krempe, a professor of natural philosophy. He was short and rude in his way of speaking, but he knew a lot. I showed him the books I had read, those old writers like Agrippa and Paracelsus. He laughed. "You have wasted your time," he said. "Those men knew nothing. You must start again, from the beginning." I felt embarrassed and angry. But deep down, I knew he was right. Still, I did not like his cold manner. The second professor was very different. His name was Monsieur Waldman. He was kind and full of energy. He spoke with warmth and made me feel inspired. When I told him about the books I had read, he did not laugh. Instead, he said, "Those men had big dreams. Their ideas were wrong, but their hopes were noble. Now, we can go further than they ever imagined. We have real knowledge now, and you can be part of it. I will never forget his words. After that meeting, I became his student. I studied hard, learning about modern chemistry, physics, and biology. I read day and night. I stopped writing letters home. I hardly ate or slept. My curiosity grew stronger every day. I wanted to know how the world worked. I wanted to understand the secrets of life. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a great discovery. My love for science burned like a fire. I forgot everything else, my family, my friends, even Elizabeth. I thought only of my work. I said to myself, if others have found small truths, maybe I can find the greatest truth of all. Maybe I can discover how life begins. Maybe I can learn to create life. It was a wild idea. But I believed in it with all my heart. I had not yet begun the work that would bring so much sorrow. But I had taken the first step. I had passed through the door. I was no longer a boy with dreams. I was a man chasing something that could change the world. And I did not know what price I would pay. Chapter 4. From that moment on, I gave myself completely to science. I worked harder than ever before. Every day I read, studied, and experimented. I stopped thinking about my family or friends. I stopped writing letters home. I only cared about one thing, knowledge. I wanted to understand the mystery of life. Not just how the body worked, but how life began. What made something alive? Could I create life myself? I began to study human anatomy very closely. I spent hours examining bones, muscles, and organs. I visited graves and charnel houses. I saw death up close. I touched cold flesh, opened dead bodies, and tried to understand the line between life and death. At first, it made me feel sick. But over time, I stopped feeling anything. I became calm and focused. My desire to learn was stronger than fear or disgust. I wanted to learn how the body worked not just in life, but also after it died. What made the heart beat? What made the lungs move? And more than that, was it possible to bring life back once it was gone? I studied electricity. I learned how energy moved through wires, how it could shock the body and make muscles jump. I remembered the lightning that had struck the tree many years ago, and I wondered if that power could give life. Slowly, I began to believe it could. This idea took hold of me. I could not stop thinking about it. If I could create life, I would be like a god. I would bring something new into the world. Something no one had ever done before. I thought, if I succeed, I will be famous. People will praise me for centuries. I will give new life to the dead. I will help the world. But I did not stop to think of the danger. I did not wonder whether I should do it. I only asked, can I? I built a secret laboratory in a small room in the university. I worked there every night, alone. I said nothing to my professors. I told no one what I was doing. I began to build a body, not just to study, but to bring to life. I collected bones and parts. I chose pieces that were strong, healthy, and well-formed. I sewed them together carefully, one by one. I used what I had learned about blood, nerves, muscles, and electricity. My hands worked with skill, but my mind was full of fire. To make the work easier, I made the creature larger than a man, about 8 feet tall. I thought, if I succeed, I can later make smaller, more perfect versions. But for now, size would help. I worked day and night. Seasons passed, spring, summer, autumn. I stayed in my lab while the world outside changed. I ignored the sun, the moon, the stars. I forgot to eat, to rest, to smile. My health became poor. My eyes were tired, my cheeks pale, and my body thin. But I did not care. I was close. So close. At night, I dreamed strange dreams. I dreamed of walking in graveyards, of skeletons smiling at me. I dreamed of Elizabeth, beautiful and alive, suddenly turning cold and dead in my arms. I woke in fear, but I kept working. My dream was stronger than my fear. And then, one night, it happened. It was a dark and stormy night in November. Rain hit the windows. Lightning lit the sky. I stood in my lab, shaking with excitement and terror. My work was done. The body lay on the table, ready. I connected the final wires. I turned on the machines. I watched as the electricity flowed. I waited. And then, the creature opened its eyes. It breathed. It moved. Life had come. I stepped back, my heart pounding. But as I looked at what I had made, my joy turned to horror. The creature was alive, yes, but terrible to look at. His skin was yellow and stretched tight over muscles. His eyes were dull and watery. His lips were black. His face, which I had tried to make beautiful, was a mask of fear. His body was powerful, but wrong, unnatural. I had dreamed of creating a perfect being, something noble, strong, and good. But what I saw was a monster. I ran from the room. I could not bear to look at it. My mind was full of fear. I walked out into the night, shaking and lost. I did not know what I had done. I went back to my room and tried to sleep, but I could not rest. Hours passed. The storm continued. And then, just before morning, I opened my eyes and saw him. The creature. He stood beside my bed, looking at me. His eyes were wide and empty. He reached out his hand, as if asking for help, or maybe comfort. I cried out and ran from the room. I did not look back. I had done what no man had done before. I had created life. And I had created horror. Chapter 5. I ran out into the streets of Ingolstadt. The rain poured down and the wind blew hard. My heart was racing. My clothes were soaked. I felt sick, confused, and full of fear. I had done something terrible. I had brought a dead body to life. I thought it would be beautiful, powerful, and good. But instead, I had made a monster. His face was too ugly to describe. His eyes had no light. His smile was terrifying. I walked without direction, trying to calm my mind. I felt like I was losing control. I wanted to believe it was a bad dream, but I knew it was real. I had worked so hard, and now I could not even look at what I had created. I wandered the streets for hours. At last, tired and cold, I went back to the house where I was staying. Slowly, I climbed the stairs to my room. I opened the door carefully and looked inside. The creature was gone. The bed was empty. The lab was silent. I looked around with wide eyes. Where had he gone? Was he hiding? Watching me? I listened, but heard nothing. I searched the house, but he was not there. My fear grew even greater. Now that he was alive and free, what would he do? Would he harm someone? Would he return? I was so afraid that I became sick. I lay on my bed, unable to move. My heart was weak. My mind could not rest. For several days, I lay there, too ill to eat or think clearly. I had no one to care for me, no one to talk to. Then, one morning, as I opened my eyes, I saw a familiar face. It was Henry Clerval. He stood beside my bed, smiling kindly. His eyes were full of concern. "My dear Victor," he said, "I arrived in town yesterday. I came to see you. But when I heard how sick you were, I came right away." Tears came to my eyes. Henry sat beside me and stayed with me day and night. He brought me food, read to me, and helped me slowly return to health. He was a true friend. His voice calmed my mind. His laughter gave me hope again. Still, I said nothing about the creature. I could not tell Henry what I had done. The memory was too terrible. I pushed it deep into my heart and tried not to think about it. I told myself the creature was gone, far away, and I would never see him again. Weeks passed. I got stronger. The sky was bright, and the trees were full of green leaves again. Henry and I walked together through the streets of Ingolstadt. He talked about books and stories, about the world and our families. He had grown into a fine young man, full of dreams, still full of hope. One day, Henry gave me a letter. "It's from home," he said, smiling. "From Elizabeth." I opened it with trembling hands. Her familiar handwriting made my heart ache. She wrote of Geneva, of how the family missed me. She told me Ernest, our younger brother, had grown tall and strong. She spoke of my father, who still worried about my long silence. But most of all, she spoke of her own feelings. She said, "Victor, I hope you are well. I hope you are happy. You have always been my closest friend, and I wait for the day you return to us. The house is not the same without your voice, without your mind full of wonder. But there is one more thing I must tell you." At this point in the letter, I felt a chill. Elizabeth continued, "A young woman named Justine Moritz has returned to live with us. You may remember her. She was with us as a child. She left for some time to care for her mother, who sadly passed away. Now she is back in our home. She is gentle and kind, and she loves William very much." Elizabeth ended with kind words. She told me not to worry, to take care of myself, and to return when I was ready. She signed the letter, "Your loving cousin, Elizabeth." After reading it, I felt both joy and sadness. Joy, because Elizabeth's words were full of love. Sadness, because I had changed so much. I was not the same Victor she remembered. She spoke of hope and peace, but my heart was full of fear and guilt. Still, the letter helped me heal. Henry noticed the change in me. He said, "Victor, your face is brighter today. I think you are finally ready to leave this place." And I was. I had studied long and hard. I had made my discovery, but it had nearly destroyed me. I was ready to leave science behind, at least for a while. I needed nature, family, and rest. I needed to go home. We began to make plans for the journey back to Geneva. Henry said he would travel with me part of the way. He had always wanted to see the world, and this was his chance. I looked forward to the mountains, the lake, and the voices of those I loved. But even as I packed my bags and smiled at the spring air, a shadow still lived in the back of my mind. Somewhere out there, the creature was alive, and I could not forget him. Chapter 6. Before I left Ingolstadt, I received another letter from my father. I was excited to hear from home, but as I began to read, I felt my hands grow cold. The letter was full of sadness. My little brother William was dead. My father wrote, "My dear Victor, our sweet William has been murdered. We are full of grief. He was playing in the fields near the house when he disappeared. We searched for him for hours. At last, we found his body. There were marks on his neck, clear signs that he had been strangled. Come home, Victor. Your presence will comfort us. Elizabeth is heartbroken. She thinks it was her fault, because she let William wear a locket with your mother's picture. The locket was missing when we found the body. We believe the murderer stole it." The words blurred in front of my eyes. I read the letter again, slowly, trying to understand. William, my cheerful, bright little brother, was gone. Murdered. And I had not been there to protect him. I left Ingolstadt the very next day. Henry came with me part of the way. He was kind and tried to speak words of comfort, but my heart was heavy. I said little. My thoughts were dark. I knew something others did not know. I feared something terrible. We traveled for several days through the countryside. The mountains rose around us, and the air became colder as we neared Geneva. The familiar trees and lake came into view. The sky was full of clouds. It was almost night when I arrived outside the city. The gates were closed for the evening, so I had to wait until morning to enter. I decided to walk in the hills nearby. I hoped the fresh air would calm me, though my mind was restless. I looked up at the mountains and thought of the days I had spent here as a boy. Everything had seemed so peaceful then. But now everything felt different. I wandered alone beneath the trees. The rain began to fall lightly. Suddenly, a flash of lightning lit the sky. In that flash, I saw a tall figure in the distance, just for a moment. It moved quickly, far too fast for any normal man. It climbed the steep hillside with ease, and in another second, it was gone. My blood turned to ice. I knew that figure. It was the creature. He was there, near the place where William had been murdered. A terrible thought struck me. Could it be? Had he? I dropped to my knees. I had made that being. I had given him life. And now, had he taken the life of my brother? I returned to the city in silence. I was filled with horror and guilt. My family welcomed me with sadness. My father hugged me. Elizabeth's eyes were full of tears. We sat together in the dark house, and no one could speak of anything but grief. Elizabeth said, "If only I hadn't let him wear the locket. If only I had gone with him." Her voice shook. She blamed herself, though it was not her fault. I tried to comfort her, but I could not find the right words. I was too full of my own fear. The next day, news came that shocked us all. A girl named Justine Moritz had been arrested for William's murder. I could not believe it. Justine had lived with our family for many years. She was kind, gentle, and good. She had always cared for William like a mother. How could anyone believe she had killed him? But the evidence was strong. The missing locket had been found in her pocket. Some people said they had seen her near the place where William's body was found. Elizabeth refused to believe it. "She's innocent," she said. "She loved William. She could never hurt him. There must be some mistake." I agreed, but I said nothing out loud. Because deep in my heart, I knew the truth. The locket, the murder, the tall figure in the night. It was not Justine. It was the creature. The one I had created with my own hands. The one I had left alone in the world. He had returned. He had killed my brother. And now an innocent girl was going to suffer for it. But what could I say? If I told the truth, no one would believe me. They would think I was mad. I had no proof. The only person who knew what I had done was me. Justine was taken to trial. I sat in the courtroom, my heart pounding. She stood before the judges, calm but pale. She said she was innocent. She said she did not know how the locket had come to be in her pocket. Her voice was full of honesty. But it was not enough. The people did not believe her. And I remained silent. Chapter 7. The trial of Justine Moritz was one of the most painful moments of my life. I sat in the courtroom, filled with guilt and helplessness. I knew the truth. I knew Justine was innocent, but I could not tell anyone the real story. Who would believe that I had created a living creature, and that this creature had killed my brother? Justine stood before the judges, calm and brave. She answered their questions with honesty and quiet dignity. She said she had gone out looking for William that night. She said she had rested in a barn near the field where the body was found. She did not know how the locket had ended up in her pocket. Her words were clear and sincere. Elizabeth stood and spoke in Justine's defense. Her voice was full of emotion. She said Justine had always been good, kind, and full of love for our family. She begged the court to see her innocence. Many people in the courtroom cried as Elizabeth spoke. But it was no use. The evidence was too strong. The locket was found in Justine's pocket, and there were no other suspects. I wanted to stand and cry out the truth. I wanted to say, it was not her. It was the creature I made. But fear stopped me. Shame held me back. I knew that if I told the truth, they would call me insane. They might even think I was guilty. So I sat in silence. Justine was found guilty of murder. That night, I went to visit her in her prison cell. Elizabeth was already there. She held Justine's hand and cried beside her. Justine tried to comfort her. "Do not cry for me, dear Elizabeth," she said. "I am not afraid. I am at peace." She looked at me then, and I could hardly meet her eyes. "I forgive you, Victor," she said softly. "You have always been good to me. I do not blame you for believing in my innocence. I hope that when I am gone, you will find peace." I left the prison filled with pain. The next morning, Justine was taken to the place of execution. She was hanged. An innocent girl, a sweet, gentle girl, had died because of my silence. Because of me. After her death, I fell into deep sadness. I could not sleep. I could not eat. I walked alone in the mountains, trying to escape my thoughts, but they followed me everywhere. I had killed William and Justine, not with my hands, but with my pride, my ambition, my terrible mistake. My family tried to comfort me, but I was too full of grief. Elizabeth was silent most of the time. Her eyes were always sad. My father worried about us both. He said we needed rest, peace, and time to heal. He spoke kind words, but nothing helped. I carried the weight of 2 deaths on my shoulders. One day, I decided I could no longer stay in the house. I needed to be alone. I needed to face my guilt. I packed a small bag and left for the mountains. I did not tell anyone where I was going. I only wanted to get far away, to breathe fresh air, to see the sky, to try and forget the horror I had caused. I traveled on foot through the countryside. The green hills and quiet forests brought a little comfort to my heart. I climbed into the Alps, high above the towns and roads. The cold air, the snow-covered peaks, the sound of waterfalls, these things helped me feel small again. I was no longer the great scientist. I was just a man. A broken, guilty man. I stopped one day near the Mer de Glace, a sea of ice high in the mountains. I looked around me. The world was huge, wild, and powerful. The silence of nature surrounded me. I felt a little peace, perhaps for the first time in weeks. But that peace did not last. As I stood there, watching the ice below, I saw something moving in the distance. A tall figure. Climbing over the rocks with great speed and strength. Coming toward me. I knew immediately who it was. The creature. My creature. He came closer and stood before me. His body was huge and powerful. His face still frightened me, those yellow eyes, those twisted lips, but I also saw something else. Sadness. I stepped back. "Devil!" I cried. "How dare you come near me? Aren't you afraid I'll destroy you?" He looked at me calmly. "I expected this," he said. "But hear me, Victor. You are my creator. I am your work. You made me. Should I not be your Adam, your first creation, protected and loved? Instead, I am your fallen angel, hated, feared, and alone. You are a murderer." I shouted. "You killed William. You caused Justine's death. Do not speak of love. I am what you made me, he said. I was born with a kind heart. I wanted to be good. I helped people. But everywhere I went, they screamed. They hit me. They drove me away. Even you, my creator, turned from me in horror. I had no choice. You had a choice, I said. You could have done good. He looked away. It is too late now. But I did not come to hurt you. I came to speak. You owe me that much. Listen to my story, all of it. After that, you may judge me. You may destroy me if you wish. But first, listen. I looked at him. I did not want to hear. I did not want to feel pity. But part of me, deep down, knew I had a duty. He pointed to a cave nearby. There, he said. We can talk, away from the cold. Come, Victor Frankenstein. Come and listen to your creation. Chapter 8. We sat together in a cave high in the mountains. Outside, the wind howled and snow fell softly over the rocks. Inside, it was quiet and cold. I sat on a stone ledge, my hands shaking with anger and fear. The creature sat across from me. His large frame filled the dark space, but his eyes were calm. He looked at me, not like a monster, but like someone who had something to say, something that mattered. Before you judge me, he said, listen. You say I am evil, but I was not born that way. I became what I am because of pain, because of how the world treated me. Let me tell you how it began. My life started the moment you gave me life, on that cold night when lightning lit the sky and you ran from me in fear. His voice was deep and full of sadness. At first, he said, I did not know anything. I opened my eyes and felt cold. I looked around but could not understand what I saw. I moved my hands and feet, and even that surprised me. Light hurt my eyes. Sounds confused me. I was like a newborn, but without a mother or father to guide me. I was alone. I walked through the streets that night, looking for warmth and comfort. I did not know what I was. I only felt hunger, pain, and fear. People screamed when they saw me. One man threw stones. A woman fainted. Others shouted and ran away. I was scared and ran into the forest. There, I found peace. The trees did not scream. The birds did not run. I hid in a small hut made of wood and straw. It was cold, but I was safe. I watched the moon move across the sky. I listened to the sound of the wind in the leaves. Slowly, I began to understand the world around me. I learned that fire gave heat, but also pain. I learned that berries on some bushes could feed me. I learned how to walk without falling, but I was still alone. I wanted to speak, but I had no words. I wanted to touch someone, but no one would come near me. My heart was full of longing. I sat in silence, listening. One day, the creature continued, I found a small cottage near a forest. A family lived there, a blind old man, his son, and a young woman. Their names were Delacy, Felix, and Agatha. I was too afraid to approach them, so I built a shelter nearby, where I could hide. From there, I watched them through a small hole in the wall. Every day, I studied their actions. I listened to their voices. They were poor, but they were kind to each other. The young woman helped prepare food. The young man chopped wood. The old man sat and played music. Their home was full of warmth and love. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be like them. Slowly, I began to learn their language. I listened carefully and repeated words when I was alone. I found books they had left outside and studied them. I read about human history, about kindness, and about justice. I began to understand who I was and what I was not. I was not human. I was not part of any family. I had no name, no place, no friend. And yet, I hoped. I hoped that if they met me gently, they would see my heart. I thought, if I can speak well, if I can be kind, they will not hate me. My greatest wish was to earn their love. I waited and planned. I decided to speak first to the old man, Delacy. Since he was blind, he could not judge me by my face. I waited for the day when his children left the cottage. Then I knocked softly and entered. He welcomed me kindly, not knowing who I was. I sat beside him and spoke in a soft voice. I told him I was a traveler in need of help. He listened with patience. I spoke of friendship, of loneliness, of the pain of being unwanted. He took my hand and said, "You are welcome here, my friend." In that moment, I felt joy for the first time. But the moment ended quickly. His son and daughter came home. When they saw me, they screamed. Felix pulled me away from the old man and struck me with a stick. Agatha fainted. I begged them to stop, but they would not listen. I ran from the house, back into the woods. My heart was broken. He stopped speaking. The cave was quiet except for the soft sound of wind outside. He looked at me. "Can you understand, Victor?" he asked. I was good. I wanted only love. But they gave me hate. I saved a child from drowning once. Her father saw me holding her and shot me. I helped a poor man in the woods. He cursed me and ran. Every time I tried to do good, I was punished. I am alone. Always alone. And you gave me life and left me. You made me, but never loved me. Is it so strange that I became angry? He stood and looked down at me. I ask one thing. One kindness. Make me a companion. Someone like me. Someone who will not run. I do not ask for joy or glory. Only peace. Give me a friend, and I will go far away. You will never see me again. His voice was steady now. This is what I ask, Victor Frankenstein. You are the only one who can give it. Chapter 9. I sat in silence after the creature finished speaking. My mind was full of confusion and pain. He had told me a story of sadness, of loneliness, of trying to be good in a world that hated him. He said he had not been born evil, but had become that way because no one showed him kindness. He had begged me for something simple, a companion. Someone like him. Someone who would not run away from his face. Someone to love. And I did not know what to say. I do feel pity for you, I said slowly. You have suffered. It is true. But your hands are stained with blood. You killed my brother. You led to the death of innocent Justine. His eyes burned. Yes, he said. I did. And I regret it. But it was your fault. You made me, then left me. If someone had only shown me love, none of this would have happened. I turned away. The snow outside the cave had grown heavier. A wind blew through the rocks. My heart was torn. Could I really make another creature like him? Could I repeat my terrible act? Or was it worse to leave him alone in the world, hated and hunted, with no hope of love? What if she becomes worse than you? I asked. What if the two of you hate all humans, and together you destroy the world? No, he said. That is not what I want. I ask only for peace. We will go far away, into the wild lands of South America or the deep forests of the north. You will never see us again. I will teach her to love the stars, the trees, and the animals. I swear we will harm no one. But if you deny me, I will feel only hatred. And I will make you suffer. I looked at him. His face was full of sadness, not anger. I thought of how I had left him, afraid of his appearance, without thinking of his heart. I had created life, and then treated it as garbage. Maybe he did deserve this one gift. I agree, I said at last, slowly. I will do it. I will make you a companion. But you must keep your word. You must leave forever and never hurt another soul. He smiled, a strange, sad smile. You have given me hope, Victor Frankenstein. I will wait for you. Finish your work. Then we will disappear from the world. Then he stood and disappeared into the snowy darkness. I returned from the mountains with a heavy heart. I had made a promise, but already, I felt doubt. Was it right to create another monster? Could I risk bringing more danger into the world? Back in Geneva, I tried to act normal. My father welcomed me home. Elizabeth hugged me tightly. But I was not the same. I carried fear with me. I was silent and tired. I could not enjoy anything. Even nature, which once gave me peace, now seemed gray and empty. One day, my father said, Victor, your sadness troubles me. We have all suffered, but we must move forward. I think you need change. You should travel for a while. Go to England. See the great scientists. Learn, explore. You once loved these things. Maybe they will help you heal. I agreed. It was the perfect chance to begin the work I had promised. I could study in peace and build the new creature far from home. But I could not travel alone. My health was still weak, and I needed company. So my father asked my dear friend Henry Clerval to go with me. Henry was overjoyed. He had always wanted to see the world. He dreamed of visiting ancient cities and learning many languages. He was full of excitement and wonder. I envied him. His eyes were bright. His spirit was free. We left Geneva together and traveled first to Paris, then through France. The cities were full of life, but I could not enjoy them. My thoughts were dark. I pretended to laugh and smile, but inside I felt only dread. Henry noticed my sadness. Victor, he said kindly one night, you do not seem yourself. Is there something troubling you? I shook my head. No, my friend? Only memories. I am trying to forget. He did not ask again. We crossed into England. The green hills, quiet rivers, and peaceful villages gave Henry great joy. He wrote letters home filled with excitement. I stayed quiet. I was thinking only of my task. I told Henry the first needed time alone to work on a secret project. He agreed to travel through Scotland for a few weeks, while I went north to a small island. There, in a lonely hut, I would begin the work. The island was cold, wet, and full of wind. The people were simple and quiet. I lived alone in a small stone house near the sea. I worked day and night, collecting materials, planning, building. My hands moved, but my mind was full of fear. Was I doing the right thing? What if she hated the creature who waited for her? What if she rejected him? What if she wanted power or revenge? I had no control over what she would become. I was about to bring another unknown being into the world. One night, as I looked at the unfinished form lying before me, I felt a terrible chill. What had I promised? What was I doing? Chapter 10. The night was cold and dark. A storm was coming in from the sea. The wind howled around my small hut on the island. Inside, I sat by the dim light of a candle, staring at the creature I was building, the companion I had promised. Her body was not yet alive. Her eyes were closed. Her arms rested by her sides like a sleeping shadow. I had not finished connecting the parts, had not yet breathed life into her. And yet I could not go on. I looked down at my tools, my hands trembling. My heart was full of fear and doubt. What was I doing? Was it right to bring another monster into the world? What if she turned out even more dangerous than the first? What if she hated the one who waited for her? What if, instead of peace, their union brought destruction? Then I thought of something even worse. What if they had children, a new race of creatures, stronger than humans, beyond our control? I stood up and walked to the window. The sea was rough, and the sky was black. Lightning flashed far away on the horizon. My heart beat fast. No, I whispered. I cannot do this. I will not make another being like him. I will not bring more danger into the world. In a sudden burst of fear and anger, I turned to the table. I looked at the body I had built with such care. Now I saw only horror. I picked up a tool and tore the unfinished creature to pieces. Her body fell apart. Her limbs dropped lifeless to the floor. It was over. But not for long. I had barely finished when I felt a shadow at the window. I looked up, and saw him. The creature. His face was pressed against the glass. His eyes glowed in the dark. His mouth was twisted with rage. He pushed open the door with great force. He entered the hut and saw what I had done. He looked down at the remains of the creature, then up at me. "You have broken your promise," he said, his voice shaking with fury. "Yes," I answered. "I will never create another being like you. Go. Leave me." "I expected this," he said quietly, though his voice was full of pain. "I knew you would destroy my hope. You are truly cruel. I asked for one kindness, one soul to share my misery, and you have taken it away." He paused, then his voice grew louder. "So be it. But know this, Victor Frankenstein, I will have my revenge. You are my enemy now, not my maker. I swear I will make you suffer." I tried to speak, but he raised his hand. "Hear me," he said. "You have destroyed my future. So I will destroy yours. I will be with you on your wedding night." And then he turned and fled into the storm, lost in the rain and wind. I stood frozen, the sound of his last words echoing in my ears. My wedding night. I sank to the floor, filled with dread. The next morning, I left the island. I took a small boat and rowed out into the sea. I carried with me the remains of the second creature. I could not let anyone find her, could not let the world know what I had done. I rowed far out, until the shore was a thin line behind me. Then I dropped the broken parts into the deep water and watched them sink out of sight. I was alone on the ocean, with only the waves and sky around me. For a moment, I felt peace. But it did not last. The sea grew wild. The wind pushed my boat in strange directions. The clouds gathered, and soon I was caught in a storm. I tried to steer, but the waves were too strong. My arms were tired, my eyes full of salt. I thought I might die there. At last, the storm passed, and I saw land ahead. I let the waves carry me to shore. I climbed out, weak and soaked, onto the beach of a small town. But I was not safe. As I walked into the town, people stared at me. They whispered to each other. A group of men came forward and grabbed me. "You are under arrest," one of them said. "Arrest? For what? You will learn soon enough, he said. They took me to a jail and locked me in a cold, dark cell. I was confused and afraid. I had done terrible things, yes, but not here. Why was I being held? The next day, I was brought before a judge. He looked at me with deep sadness. You have been found near the body of a man who was murdered, he said. You are a stranger here. You arrived in a boat after the storm. Witnesses saw you land. The body was found that same morning. My heart stopped. Who was killed? I asked. The judge looked down at a piece of paper. His name was Henry Clerval. I fell back in shock. Henry. My friend. My dear, loyal friend. I cried out in horror. No. It wasn't me. I would never harm him. But no one believed me. My cries were useless. They thought I was mad. They thought I was guilty. I was thrown back into the cell, my soul crushed. The creature had kept his promise. He was taking everything from me, one by one. Chapter 11. When I first came to life, I knew nothing. The light hurt my eyes. The air felt cold on my skin. I moved slowly and without control. Every sound was new. Every smell confused me. I was like a baby, but there was no one to help me. I had no mother, no father, no voice to guide me. I was alone. At first, I stayed near the place where you, Victor Frankenstein, gave me life. But I could not stay. I was afraid and in pain. I walked away into the forest. The trees were tall and strange. I touched them with my hands. The leaves were soft. The bark was rough. My senses were strong. I could feel everything, smell everything. It was all too much. I was hungry, but I did not know what food was. I saw birds and tried to catch them, but they flew away. I found some berries on a bush. I put them in my mouth. They were sweet. I ate more. For the first time, I felt a little better. I drank water from a small stream. It was cold and clear. I lay beside the stream to rest. The sky was full of stars. They shone like tiny fires. I did not understand what they were. I only knew they made the night less dark. When the sun came up, it hurt my eyes. I hid under a tree. The day was bright and hot. I did not like it. But I kept walking. I found a small hut. The door was open. I stepped inside. A man was there. When he saw me, he screamed and ran out. I did not touch him. I only looked at him. But he was afraid of me. I did not know why. I left the hut and walked on. Soon I saw a village. There were many houses, many people. I went near them. I was curious. I wanted to hear their voices. I wanted to be close. But when I entered the village, everything went wrong. A child saw me and cried out. A woman dropped her basket and ran. Men came with sticks and stones. They shouted and threw things at me. One hit my arm. It hurt. I ran. I ran into the forest and did not stop until I was far away. I hid in the woods. I was cold and alone. I cried, but no one heard me. I did not understand why people hated me. I had never hurt anyone. In the woods, I found a small shed behind a cottage. It was old, but dry. It had 3 walls and a roof of wood and straw. I could see into the cottage through a crack in the wall. I decided to stay there. That was when I first saw the family. There was an old man, blind, with white hair. He sat by the fire and played music. His face was kind. There was also a young man and a young woman. They worked hard. The man chopped wood. The woman cooked and cleaned. I did not know their names yet, but I watched them every day. At first, I took food from their storehouse at night. But then I saw how little they had. I saw the young woman give her portion to the old man. I saw the young man go hungry so the others could eat. I felt ashamed. From that day on, I stopped stealing. I found my own food in the forest, berries, roots, nuts. I even left wood at their door when I could. I wanted to help them, even if they never knew. I watched them through the hole in the wall. I listened to their voices. I began to learn their language. It was slow at first. I heard words like milk, fire, bread, father. I repeated them softly when I was alone. I learned their names. The old man was De Lacy, the young man was Felix, and the woman was Agatha. They were good and kind. I loved to watch them. I felt like I belonged to them, even if they did not know I was there. Felix sometimes read books aloud. I listened. I learned about history, about kings and wars and cities. I learned about human laws and kindness. I listened to Agatha sing. Her voice was soft and full of sorrow. I did not know why she was sad, but I wanted to comfort her. More than anything, I wanted to speak to them. I wanted to show them I was gentle. But I was afraid. What if they screamed like the villagers? What if they hit me? I waited. I planned. I hoped. In the spring, a new person came to the cottage. A woman, dressed in dark clothes. Her name was Safi. She was beautiful. Her skin was brown, her eyes bright. She spoke a different language at first. But she was learning the family's words, just like me. When Felix taught her, I listened too. I learned quickly. I understood what they were saying. I learned to speak in my mind, though no one heard me. Through their lessons, I learned more than just words. I learned about family, about love, about duty. I learned that people had mothers and fathers, that they lived in homes, that they cared for one another. And then, I realized something. I had no one. I had no name. No parents. No home. I was not like them. Chapter 12. As I listened each day, I began to understand not only their words, but their lives. The more I learned, the more I felt, and the more I felt, the more I suffered. I saw how Felix, Agatha, and De Lacy cared for one another. I saw them laugh together, and sometimes cry. When they sat around the fire in the evening, I imagined myself there, sitting with them. I dreamed of speaking to them, of calling them friends. But I dared not enter. I stayed hidden in my small shelter beside the cottage. I studied everything. When Felix taught Safi to read, I listened. He began with simple books. One was about a person named Volney who wrote about the history of people and empires. Through this book, I learned about how men once lived freely, but then kings and laws brought wars and cruelty. I learned of riches and poverty, of power and slavery, of beauty and hate. I understood that men could be noble, but they could also be wicked and proud. As I listened, I asked myself, what am I? Where do I belong in this world? I looked at my reflection in a pool of water. My eyes were yellow, my skin pale and stretched, my features ugly and twisted. I saw how different I was from Felix and Safi. I was not like them. I was not like anyone. I was alone. One day, I found a leather bag in the forest. Inside were 3 books, Paradise Lost, Plutarch's Lives, and The Sorrows of Werther. I read each one with care. They changed me. From Plutarch's Lives, I learned about great men from ancient times, wise, brave, and just. I admired them. They made me want to do good things. I wanted to be kind, to help people, to act with honor. The Sorrows of Werther made me feel deeply. It told the story of a man who loved someone who could not love him back. He was full of emotion, and in the end, he took his own life. I understood his sadness. I too had no one to love me. But the book that moved me most was Paradise Lost. It told the story of Adam and Satan, of how Adam was made by God, but then cast out of Eden. I saw myself in both. Like Adam, I had no past and had been made by someone powerful. But unlike Adam, I had no father to care for me. I had been abandoned. And like Satan, I was full of anger and sorrow. I had been rejected by my Creator. I had no place in the world. These thoughts brought me pain. But still, I hoped. The De Lacys were poor. I wished I could help them. In the night, I gathered wood and left it by their door. I cleared snow from their path. I did small things to make their lives easier, though they never knew it was me. I began to dream of speaking to them. I thought, if I go to them slowly, if I show I am kind, maybe they will not be afraid. I knew the old man, De Lacy, was blind. He could not see my face. I decided I would speak to him first, when he was alone. If he accepted me, maybe the others would too. I waited for the right moment. I watched for many days. Finally, one afternoon, Felix and Agatha went out to collect food. Safi was gone too. Only De Lacy sat inside, resting by the fire. I knocked gently on the door. My hands were shaking. My heart beat fast. I entered slowly. "Who is there?" he asked kindly. "A traveler," I said. "Someone who is lost, and alone. I mean no harm." "Come in, friend," he said. "You are welcome." I sat near him and spoke. I told him I was lonely, that I had no family, no friends. I told him I had been hurt by people because I was different. He listened with patience. He said kind things. "Do not be sad," he said. "If you are gentle and good, the world will one day see your heart." I almost wept. I felt hope. I said, "There is a family I watch from far away. They are kind. I want to speak to them. But I fear they will hate me." If they are kind, he said, they will not judge you. Tell me more. Just then, the door opened. Felix, Agatha, and Safie returned. They saw me. Their faces changed at once. Agatha screamed. Safie ran. Felix shouted, then rushed at me. He struck me with a stick again and again. I cried out, please stop. I did nothing wrong. But they did not listen. I fled from the cottage. I ran back to my shelter, heartbroken, body sore. That night, I stayed in the cold and wept. I had hoped for love. I had offered friendship. But they gave me only fear and hate. Chapter 13. Spring arrived, and the forest around the cottage turned green. Birds sang, and the air grew warmer. The creature continued to learn quietly, still hiding from the family. He studied their words, their actions, and slowly began to understand more of human life. One day, a stranger arrived at the cottage. She was a young woman, dressed in a dark robe. Her face was gentle and beautiful. Her name was Safie. She did not speak the same language as the de Lacy family, but she had come to join them. The creature listened from his hiding place. He learned that Safie was from a different country. She had come to be with Felix, the young man from the cottage. Her father had once been a rich man, but he had been treated unfairly and put in prison. Felix had tried to help him escape, and during that time, he and Safie had fallen in love. When the plan to free her father failed, Felix's family lost everything. They had to leave their home in France and live in the countryside in poverty. Safie's father returned to his own country and took Safie with him. But she escaped and came back, because her heart belonged to Felix. Now that Safie was there, Felix began teaching her their language. The creature watched and listened closely. He learned quickly. The same lessons that taught Safie to speak also helped the creature grow smarter and more fluent in words. He began to read books. At first, simple words. Then more complex ones. The creature discovered ideas about history, government, justice, and human society. He learned about right and wrong, about kindness and cruelty. He read about wars and rulers, about brave acts and terrible crimes. The more he learned, the more sadness he felt. He realized he was different from other people, not only in appearance, but in his place in the world. He had no family, no name, no history. He was alone. He read Paradise Lost, a story about angels and demons, about the fall of man. He saw himself in that story, both as Adam, the first man who was created and abandoned, and as Satan, the one full of pain and revenge. He also read Plutarch's Lives and the Sorrows of Werther. These books filled his mind with deep thoughts and emotions. He began to ask himself, who am I? Why was I made? What is my purpose? He understood now how cruel the world could be. One day, he found papers inside the clothes he had taken from Victor's lab. These papers were Victor Frankenstein's journal, the record of the monster's creation. The creature read them. With every line, his pain grew. He read about the horror Victor felt when he brought the creature to life. He read about how Victor had abandoned him, called him a wretch, and left him to suffer alone. He saw clearly how unwanted he had been from the very first moment. I am cursed, the creature whispered. Even my creator hates me. He now understood the truth of his birth and the reason for his loneliness. And so, as spring warmed the land, the creature made a decision. He would show himself to the de Lacy family. He had learned their language, he had watched their kindness. He believed that the old blind man, at least, would listen to him with an open heart. He would try. He still hoped. He still believed in love. Chapter 14. The creature had watched the de Lacy family for many months. He knew them better than they knew themselves. He had learned their habits, their voices, their joys and sorrows. Now, he wanted to become part of their lives. But before he could do that, he wanted to understand their history. And slowly, through conversations and lessons given to Safie, he learned the full story of the family's past. Long ago, the de Lacys had lived in Paris. They had once been rich and respected. The father, old Monsieur de Lacy, was a kind and honorable man. His son Felix was brave and full of passion. His daughter Agatha was gentle and loving. They had everything they needed, until one day, something happened that changed their lives. A Turkish merchant had been arrested in Paris. He was rich, but the government believed he was dangerous. He was thrown in prison and faced a death sentence. His daughter, Safie, was heartbroken. She visited him in secret and begged for help. That's when Felix met her. Moved by her sorrow, Felix promised to help her father escape. He made a plan and helped the man get out of prison. But once the escape was discovered, everything fell apart. The French government was furious. They punished the whole de Lacy family. Their house was taken. Their money was lost. They were forced to leave France and live in exile. They came to the countryside where they now lived in poverty and silence. Safi's father escaped punishment. He returned to his home country and took Safi with him. But he did not honor Felix's courage. In fact, he did not want his daughter to marry a Christian. He believed that Felix's good heart was dangerous, not valuable. Safi, however, was different from her father. She believed in freedom and love. Her mother, who had died long ago, had taught her to think for herself. So, when Safi saw a chance, she ran away from her father and traveled to find Felix. It had been a long and difficult journey. But now she was safe, and with the man she loved. The creature listened to all of this with great interest and admiration. He was deeply moved by Felix's courage and Safi's strength. He wished he could be like them, noble, brave, and full of love. And for the first time, he felt not only sadness about being alone, he felt anger. Why was he made only to suffer? Why had he been given the power to feel love, and beauty, and longing, if no one would ever return those feelings? He began to believe that his suffering was not just a mistake, but an injustice. The world had been cruel to him before he had ever done anything wrong. Still, a part of him hoped. He told himself that the de Lacys were different. They had been poor and rejected too. Maybe they would understand. Maybe they would see that he was not evil. That he could learn. That he could feel. And so, he waited for his chance. He planned to enter the cottage when the old man, Monsieur de Lacy, was alone. Since the man was blind, he would not see the creature's frightening face. Perhaps he would hear the creature's kind voice and feel no fear. Perhaps he would listen with an open heart. The creature told himself, if one man could accept me, then I could live. Then I could be part of the human world. So he waited. He listened. And when the day came, he stepped out of the forest. He walked slowly toward the door of the little cottage. And he knocked. Chapter 15. The day came when the creature decided to speak with the old man. He waited until Felix, Agatha, and Safi left the cottage. Then, slowly and quietly, he stepped inside. The old man, de Lacy, was sitting alone by the fire. He could not see, but he heard the door open. "Who is there?" he asked kindly. The creature spoke in a soft voice. "I am a traveler. I am cold and tired. May I rest by your fire?" "Of course," said the old man. "You are welcome. Come, sit with me." The creature sat down. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to stay calm. He spoke with respect and kindness. He asked questions. He listened carefully. The old man was pleased to have company. He did not judge the creature by his voice. After some time, the creature said, "I am poor and lonely. I have no family, no friends. But I have found good people. I love them deeply. I hope they may accept me one day. But I am afraid. I am different." De Lacy listened. "If they are good people," he said, "they will see your heart. If you speak to them kindly, they will love you as you love them." Tears came to the creature's eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "You give me hope." Then he added, "I need your help. Will you speak for me? Will you tell them not to fear me? They might listen to you." "I will do my best," said de Lacy. "If you have done no harm, then you deserve love." At that moment, the door opened. Felix, Agatha, and Safi returned. They saw the creature sitting with the old man. Agatha screamed. Safi ran out of the room. Felix rushed forward and struck the creature with a stick. "Get out," he shouted. "Leave my father alone." The creature stood, shocked and silent. He did not fight back. "I mean no harm," he said. But Felix hit him again. The creature fled from the house and ran into the forest. He cried out in pain and sorrow. He had tried to be gentle. He had used kind words. He had trusted the goodness of people. But it was not enough. They had not seen his heart. They had only seen his face. He stayed in the woods all night, thinking. His dream had died. The hope that had kept him going had been crushed. The next day, he returned to the cottage, not to speak, but to watch from the trees. He saw the family packing their things. They were leaving. They had decided the place was no longer safe. They would never return. The creature was now truly alone. He burned with sadness, and with rage. They hated me before I had done them wrong, he thought. If they had only listened. If they had only seen me as more than a monster. He turned away from the cottage. And he set it on fire. He watched the flames rise into the sky. The house that had once held his hope was now ash. He walked away from the smoke, into the dark trees. Now, he had only one thought. He would find the man who had created him, Victor Frankenstein. And he would demand an answer. Chapter 16. After the cottage burned, the creature turned his back on the woods. He walked for many days, alone with his thoughts. The fire had destroyed not just the house, but the hope that had lived inside him. He no longer believed in kindness. The family he had loved had feared him. They had struck him, run from him, and left. He asked himself again and again, why was I made? Why did my Creator bring me into a world that hates me? The more he thought, the deeper his sadness became. But that sadness turned into something else. It turned into anger. He began to hate his creator, Victor Frankenstein, with all his heart. Victor had made him, then abandoned him. The creature had been forced to learn, to suffer, and to survive alone. Now, he wanted justice. He wanted Victor to suffer as he had suffered. Still, part of him longed for connection. He traveled toward Geneva, the place where Victor's family lived. Maybe he could find someone, anyone, who would not reject him. One evening, as he wandered through the woods near the city, he saw a small child walking alone. The boy had curly golden hair and bright eyes. He seemed happy and free. The creature thought, children have not yet learned to hate. Maybe this child will not fear me. He stepped forward and took the boy gently by the arm. Don't cry, he said. I won't hurt you. I just want a friend. The child struggled and screamed. Let me go, he shouted. My father is a powerful man. He is Monsieur Frankenstein. At that name, something changed inside the creature. Frankenstein. The boy was part of Victor's family. The family of the man who had given him life, and pain. Without thinking, the creature tightened his grip. In moments, the child went silent and fell lifeless to the ground. The creature stepped back, horrified. He had not meant to kill. He had only wanted the boy to stop screaming. But it was too late. The child was dead. He looked at the boy's face. He whispered, I am sorry. I did not want this. But now Victor will feel what I feel. As he turned to leave, he saw something around the child's neck, a small picture of a beautiful woman. He took it with him and wandered further through the woods. Later, he saw a girl sleeping in a barn. She was a servant. He did not know her name, but she wore a cross and held a soft expression. He thought, they will think she did it. I will leave the picture with her. They will blame her, not me. And he did. He placed the picture in her pocket and disappeared into the darkness. That night, the creature sat alone and spoke to the stars. I wanted love, he said. I tried to be good. But the world has made me a monster. If I cannot have happiness, then I will bring sorrow. I will make Victor see what it means to be truly alone. His voice was cold. His heart was full of pain. He had crossed a line, and he knew it. But still, somewhere deep inside, he wanted peace. He knew he could not find it alone. He needed someone who would never run from him. Someone like him. A companion. A mate. Someone who would understand what it meant to live in the shadows. And so, he made a new plan. He would find Victor. And he would ask him for one thing. Make me a creature like myself. Give me someone to love. Chapter 17. The creature continued his journey. His mind was set. He had to find Victor Frankenstein. He had questions, he had pain, but more than anything, he had a request. At last, he found him. Victor had been traveling in the mountains near Montanvert, hoping to find some peace in the beauty of nature. The snow, the wind, and the icy peaks gave him a little calm, but that calm ended when he saw a tall figure climbing the rocks toward him. The creature appeared out of the mist. Victor froze. His heart pounded. Devil, he shouted. Do not come near me. But the creature raised his hand and said calmly, listen to me. I will not. Victor yelled. You have killed the innocent. You are a monster. The creature's face was full of sadness. I am what you made me, he said. But I did not want to be this way. I begged for love. I was born with a heart full of kindness. I became a monster only because I was hated. Victor turned away. But the creature followed him and said, I will leave you, and the world of men, forever. But first, I ask one thing of you. Victor hesitated. What? The creature said, make me a mate. A female like me. Someone who will not run from my face. Someone who will share my pain. I am alone, and I cannot bear it. Even Satan had companions. I have no one. Victor was silent. He looked at the creature's face, full of suffering, of intelligence, of loneliness. Still, he felt torn. "If I do this," Victor asked, "will you go away forever?" "Yes," said the creature. "We will leave Europe. We will live far from men, deep in the forests of South America, where no human will ever see us. We will hurt no one. But I need someone. I cannot carry this pain alone." Victor thought for a long time. He feared the creature. He feared what might happen if he created a second being. But he also felt pity. He saw the truth in his words. At last, Victor agreed. "I will do it," he said. "But you must promise to leave when it is done." The creature's eyes lit up, not with joy, but with a quiet hope. "I give you my word," he said. "I will watch you from a distance. I will come when she is ready. Until then, I will wait." Then, without another word, the creature turned and disappeared into the mountains. Victor stood alone once more. But now, he carried a new weight, the promise he had made. He had agreed to create life again. Not from love or science, but from fear. Chapter 18. After Victor promised to make a companion for the creature, he felt no peace. Instead of relief, he was filled with fear and doubt. He had given his word, but the idea of creating another being like the first terrified him. He returned home to Geneva and tried to rest. His father saw the sadness in his eyes and believed it was from too much work and loss. He suggested that Victor and Elizabeth should be married soon. He hoped it would bring happiness back into their lives. Victor thanked his father but asked for more time. "Before I marry," he said, "I must take a trip. I need to clear my mind. I must travel to England to continue my studies. I may find some peace there." This was a lie. Victor had no real desire to study. He needed to leave so he could build the second creature far away from home, away from Elizabeth, and away from danger. His father agreed to the journey, hoping that it would help Victor heal. Victor invited his old friend Henry Clerval to travel with him. Henry was full of joy and curiosity. He was excited to see new countries. He spoke of learning languages and meeting new people. He did not know what burden Victor carried. Together, they traveled through Germany and Holland. Then they arrived in England. Everywhere they went, Henry found beauty. He talked with everyone they met. He was full of life. Victor, in contrast, felt heavier with each day. He smiled and spoke kindly to Henry, but inside, he felt only dread. He thought constantly of the promise he had made, of the monster's warning, and of what might happen if he failed. After some time in London, Victor told Henry he wanted to visit a remote part of Scotland. He said he needed quiet and space to work. Henry agreed to stay with a friend for a while and promised to meet Victor later. Victor traveled north, across quiet hills and through lonely villages. At last, he found a small, empty cottage on one of the Orkney Islands. It stood near the sea. The wind howled around it. No one lived nearby. It was perfect for his secret work. He brought his tools. He gathered materials. And then, with shaking hands, he began again. Day by day, he worked on the new creature. Her limbs, her face, her lifeless eyes. But each night, when he closed his own eyes, he saw terrible visions. He imagined her waking up and turning against him. He feared the two creatures might become enemies, or worse, that they might have children and bring a race of monsters into the world. He thought, "Am I making a greater evil than the first?" The thought tortured him. Still, he worked. He remembered the creature's promise, "I will be with you on your wedding night." Victor hoped that if he finished the second creature, the monster would leave him forever. But he also feared he was making a mistake he could never undo. He looked out at the sea. The waves crashed against the shore. He felt more alone than ever before. "Why am I doing this?" he asked himself. He had no clear answer. But he knew, the decision he made next would change everything. Chapter 19. The days passed slowly on the island. The wind never stopped, and the sea always roared. Victor worked on the new creature in secret, locked inside the small cottage. His hands moved carefully, but his thoughts were dark and full of fear. Every time he looked at the unfinished body, he asked himself the same question: what if she turns out worse than the first? What if she hates him, or wants power? What if they create others like themselves? He remembered what the first creature had said: "You are my creator, but I am your master." Those words haunted him. Victor began to doubt everything. He had made a promise, but was it right to keep it? Was he responsible only to the creature, or to the world? One night, Victor sat beside the table where the new body lay. The candlelight made shadows move across the room. The air was cold and still. Suddenly, he looked up, and saw the creature standing at the window, staring in. His yellow eyes glowed. His face was filled with wild hope, but also warning. Victor's heart pounded. He looked again at the lifeless form on the table. Then he made his choice. "No," he whispered. With trembling hands, he tore apart the new creature. He destroyed her limbs, her face, her chest. He ruined every part, leaving nothing whole. He had broken his promise. The creature let out a terrible cry, half pain, half rage. He smashed the window and forced his way inside. "Why?" he shouted. "I gave you my word. I said I would leave. You have broken our agreement." Victor stood, his hands still shaking. "You may have sworn peace," he said, "but how can I trust you? I will not be the cause of more misery. I will not create another monster." The creature stepped forward, his voice now low and cold. "Very well," he said. "You are my enemy now. You will feel what I feel. I will be with you on your wedding night." Then he turned and disappeared into the darkness. Victor stood alone in the ruined room. He knew now, there would be no peace. The next morning, Victor gathered what remained of the second creature. He put the pieces into a sack, took a small boat, and rowed far into the sea. The sky was gray, and the waves were rough. He dropped the sack into the water and watched it sink. Then he let the wind carry him. He didn't care where he went. He just wanted to escape. But the sea was cruel. A storm rose around him. The sky turned black. Rain and wind pushed the boat from side to side. Waves crashed over the sides. Victor held on, fighting to stay alive. At last, after many hours, the storm ended. He saw land in the distance. He reached a small town on the shore. People helped him out of the boat and brought him inside. But something was wrong. The men looked at him with fear and suspicion. They whispered to one another. Soon, a magistrate, a kind but serious man, came to speak with Victor. "There has been a murder," he said. "A body was found last night. A stranger. You arrived at the same time. We must ask you questions." Victor's blood turned cold. "A murder?" he asked. "Who was killed?" The magistrate did not answer. Instead, he led Victor to a dark room. On a table lay a body, covered by a cloth. They pulled it back. Victor gasped. It was Henry Clerval. His best friend. Dead. Strangled. Victor fell to the floor, overcome by grief and horror. The monster had followed him. The monster had kept his promise. Chapter 20. Victor lay on the floor beside Henry's body, shaking and weak. His heart was full of grief and guilt. The pain was too great. His friend was gone, killed because of him, because of the promise he had made and then broken. He had brought this horror into the world, and now it had taken the life of the person he loved like a brother. People came and lifted him gently. He did not speak. He could barely breathe. They placed him in a small prison cell. The walls were cold, the air damp. He lay on a narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, not knowing how much time had passed. He became sick with fever. For 2 months, he drifted in and out of sleep. Sometimes he cried out in his dreams. Sometimes he called Henry's name. He saw the monster's face again and again, in the corners, in the shadows, in the firelight behind his eyes. At last, he began to heal. One day, he heard a voice, soft, familiar. It was his father. Alphonse Frankenstein had come from Geneva. He had heard of the murder and Victor's arrest, and had rushed to his side. When Victor saw him, he cried like a child. "I have suffered so much," Victor whispered. "I have lost everything." His father sat beside him and held his hand. "Come home," he said. "There is still peace in Geneva. Elizabeth is waiting for you. We will find a way forward." Victor was released from prison. There had been no proof to hold him. He had been seen far from the place where Henry had died. Slowly, the magistrate believed his innocence. But Victor knew the truth. Even if he had not touched Henry, he had caused his death. He and his father returned to Switzerland. The journey was long and quiet. Victor often looked out the window, but he saw nothing. The mountains, the rivers, the sky, all were colorless to him now. His heart was heavy with the weight of so many deaths. When they arrived in Geneva, Elizabeth greeted them. She smiled softly and took Victor's hand. He tried to smile back, but his soul felt broken. Her voice brought some comfort, but fear still lived inside him. He knew the monster would come again. He remembered the terrible promise, "I will be with you on your wedding night." He did not believe it was only a threat against him. The creature had killed William, Justine, and Henry. Elizabeth might be next. Still, his father hoped that marriage would bring happiness. "You have been sad for too long," he said. "Let this be a new beginning." Victor agreed, but only because he feared saying no. He could not protect Elizabeth if he left her. He thought that maybe, just maybe, he could face the monster and stop him before it was too late. He wrote a letter to Elizabeth. In it, he told her that he loved her, that she was the light of his life, and that after the wedding, he would tell her everything, the whole truth. Then he made preparations. He gathered weapons, a knife, a pistol, and planned their trip carefully. They would leave Geneva after the wedding and travel to a quiet place where no one else could be hurt. He was not preparing for a honeymoon. He was preparing for battle. Chapter 21. The day of the wedding arrived. The sun was bright over Geneva. The air was warm, the lake was still, and flowers were blooming in the gardens. Friends and family gathered to celebrate. People smiled and cheered. But Victor felt none of the joy. His heart was heavy, and his thoughts were dark. Elizabeth wore white. She looked calm and beautiful. When she took Victor's hand, she whispered, "Today I am yours." He tried to smile, but he could not hide the fear in his eyes. After the ceremony, they left together by boat. They planned to stay for a few days in a quiet house near the lake, far from the city. It was a peaceful place, surrounded by trees and water. But Victor had brought a pistol with him. He was watching every shadow, listening for every sound. He remembered the creature's words clearly, "I will be with you on your wedding night." Elizabeth noticed his worry. "Victor," she asked gently, "why do you look so afraid? This should be the happiest night of our lives." He kissed her hand and tried to be brave. "Nothing," he said. "I am only tired. Everything is fine." But everything was not fine. That night, after dinner, Victor asked Elizabeth to go to her room while he checked the house. He held his pistol tightly and walked through every hallway. He opened every door, looked behind every curtain. The wind outside had grown stronger. The night felt colder. Then he heard a scream. It was Elizabeth. He ran toward her room, his heart pounding. The door was open. He rushed inside. She was lying across the bed, her eyes wide, her mouth still, her body lifeless. Victor fell to the floor beside her. He cried out in horror. "Elizabeth!" "No!" Through the window, he saw something moving, tall, dark, with glowing eyes. The creature looked back at him, and then disappeared into the night. Victor fired his pistol and chased after him, but the monster was already gone. Villagers heard the noise and came to the house. They found Victor in a state of madness, holding Elizabeth's cold hand. The joy of the wedding day had turned to death and despair. Victor returned to Geneva, but it was not the same home. His father saw what had happened. He had already lost William and Justine. Now, Elizabeth too. His heart could not take more pain. He died 3 days later. Victor was alone. Truly, fully alone. His entire family was gone. His closest friend was gone. And the monster still lived. Victor swore an oath. He would not rest. He would not stop. He would follow the creature across the world if needed. He would find him and destroy him, even if it meant the end of his own life. His journey of revenge had begun. Chapter 22. Victor left Geneva behind. He no longer felt pain the way he once had. It was deeper now, silent and cold. His heart was frozen. He had lost everything, William, Justine, Henry, Elizabeth, and now his father. The world had become a place of shadows and sorrow. There was only one thing left to do. He would find the creature. And he would destroy him. Victor went to the authorities. He told them about the being he had made, how it had murdered those he loved. He begged them to help him, to raise a search party, to hunt the monster across the mountains and fields. But no one believed him. The magistrate listened, kindly at first, but when Victor spoke of creating life and a powerful creature made from dead bodies, the man frowned. "This is a strange tale," he said. "Even if it is true, how could we catch such a thing? It is stronger than any man, faster than any horse. What can we do?" Victor stood and cried, "We must try. It has taken so much from me. If we do nothing, it will kill again." But the magistrate only shook his head. "I am sorry," he said. "We have no way to fight what we do not understand." Victor left the court in silence. If no one would help him, he would do it alone. And so began his long pursuit. The creature did not hide. Instead, he left signs and messages behind, carved into trees, written in the snow, marked with stones on the road. Sometimes they said things like, "Follow me." Or, I wait for you. Victor followed him across mountains, through valleys, and along rivers. He traveled through Germany, across the wild lands of Russia, and into the far north. Villagers along the way had seen a tall, strange figure pass through, always alone, always fast. The land grew colder with each step. Snow covered the roads. Ice hung from the trees. Still, Victor pressed forward. He ate little, slept rarely. His body grew thin. His hands cracked and bled from the cold. But he would not stop. The fire inside him burned hotter than ever. Sometimes he would hear the creature's voice echoing in the wind. It mocked him. You are near, but not near enough. Victor pushed on. He bought a sled and gathered dogs to pull it. Across frozen lakes and icy hills, he chased the monster. Day after day. Night after night. Sometimes, he saw the creature in the distance, a dark shape against the white snow. He would shout, try to catch up, but the figure always disappeared. The chase seemed endless. And still, Victor followed. He no longer feared death. He welcomed it. If he could not kill the creature, then perhaps they would die together. That would be enough. He wrote down everything, his story, his sorrow, his purpose, in case someone found him after he was gone. Perhaps others would learn from his terrible mistake. Then, at last, as he reached the edge of the world, far beyond any map, Victor saw something unexpected. A ship, trapped in the ice. The sails were still. The wood creaked in the wind. Smoke rose faintly from the chimney. Victor fell to the snow. The sailors came out and saw him, a half-dead man, thin and pale, eyes full of fire. They carried him aboard. The captain's name was Robert Walton. And to him, Victor began to tell his story. Chapter 23. After Elizabeth's death, Victor's soul was shattered. His cries echoed through the house. Villagers rushed in, but it was too late. Elizabeth lay cold and still, her eyes wide open, her lips frozen in fear. The monster had done what he promised. He had come on Victor's wedding night. And he had taken her from him. Victor remained by her body until morning. He could not speak. He could not move. When the sun rose, he sat like a stone, his hands holding hers, whispering her name again and again. At last, his father arrived. The sight of Elizabeth's lifeless form was too much for the old man. He collapsed with a cry and was carried home. 3 days later, he died of grief. Victor was now truly alone. His home, once filled with laughter and love, was silent. All the people he had loved were gone, William, Justine, Henry, Elizabeth, his father. One by one, they had been taken from him. And the creature still lived. Victor no longer cared for science, for learning, for peace. He wanted only one thing, revenge. He gathered what money he had left. He packed a small bag and a few weapons. Then he left Geneva behind. He began to search for the monster. Victor traveled through the countryside, from village to village. He asked people if they had seen a tall, strange man, one with glowing eyes and a deep voice. Sometimes they said yes. Sometimes they were frightened by the question. The monster always stayed just ahead of him. And the creature left messages. Carved into trees. Written in the snow. Scratched into stones. Follow me. You are close. I wait for you. Victor followed through forests and mountains, across rivers and lakes. As the weeks passed, he no longer thought of hunger or rest. He moved like a ghost, driven by anger. One day, in a small village, he received a letter, unsigned. The writing was familiar. I go north. Come find me. Finish what you began. Victor knew then where the final chase would lead. He reached the edge of the civilized world. The snow became deeper. The sky stayed gray. He bought a sled and gathered dogs to carry him across the frozen land. The wind cut through his coat. The ice cracked beneath him. But he pressed forward. Sometimes, he saw the monster in the distance, a dark shape against the white sky. He would call out, try to catch him, but the creature would vanish into the snow. Still, Victor did not stop. He wrote down his story. He kept a journal, hoping that if he died, someone would find his words and know the truth. He thought of Elizabeth, of Henry, of his father. Their faces gave him strength. The land grew colder. The ice became endless. And then, far out on the frozen sea, Victor saw something that made him fall to his knees. A ship, stuck in the ice. Men ran toward him. He had reached Captain Robert Walton and his crew, trapped in the Arctic. They pulled Victor aboard, fed him, warmed him, and cared for him. When he was strong enough to speak, Victor began to tell his story, everything from the beginning to this final chase. He hoped someone would listen. He hoped someone would understand. Chapter 24. Victor lay weak in Walton's cabin, his strength fading more each day. The cold outside was bitter, and inside the ship, silence filled the halls. The crew was restless. The ice had locked them in place, and many sailors feared they would never return home. Walton spent hours by Victor's side, listening to his story. Victor spoke of hope, of ambition, of creating life, and of how it had destroyed everything he loved. One morning, Walton came to him with a heavy heart. "My men want to go back," he said. "They fear the ice will trap us forever. I must decide soon." Victor nodded slowly. His face was pale, his voice faint. "You must do what is right for them," he said. "I once followed ambition too far. I lost everything. Do not make my mistake. Let my story be your warning." Later that same day, Victor fell into a deep sleep. His breathing slowed. Walton stayed near him, but there was nothing more he could do. That night, Victor Frankenstein died. Walton was silent. He covered the body with a sheet and sat in the quiet. But not for long. Sometime after midnight, a noise came from Victor's cabin. Walton opened the door, and stopped in shock. A tall, thin figure stood over Victor's body. It was the creature. His eyes glowed in the dark. His face was twisted with sorrow. He looked down at Victor, then turned to Walton. "He is dead," the creature said softly. Walton stared. "You hated him. Why are you here now?" The creature knelt beside the bed. "Hate," he said. "Yes. But I also loved him. He gave me life, and pain. He was my only connection to this world. Now he is gone. And I am truly alone." He touched Victor's cold hand. "I never wanted this," he said. "I asked for kindness. For a place in the world. But I was born into suffering. Every door was closed to me." His voice shook. "I was good once. Full of dreams. But hatred was all I found. And so, I became what they feared." He stood up slowly, eyes full of fire. "My story ends now. I will go to the farthest place, where no man walks. I will build a fire, and I will lie in the flames. No one will see me again. My ashes will scatter in the ice." Walton stepped back, unsure what to say. "Do you regret it?" he asked. The creature looked at Victor's body one last time. "I regret that I was made, and that I became a killer," he said. "But I do not ask for forgiveness. Only an end." Then, without another word, he turned and walked out of the cabin, out into the cold Arctic night. Walton watched from the deck. He saw the dark shape move across the ice, smaller and smaller, until it vanished into the white mist. The next day, the ice broke around the ship. Walton gave the order to turn south. The ship sailed home. But Victor's story, the story of a man who tried to become a god, would never be forgotten.